Well, I appreciate you reaching out to me, Professor. I think that humbled me a little bit, so and I appreciate it. Professor gave me about 15 minutes, and the goal being, as a class, as even like a society, to be able to encourage each other with our life experiences and um,
Yeah.
just kind of like almost like leapfrog off of each other, right? And so, because I wanted to honor all of your time and hopefully honor my own struggles, I was able to put together. I sat down for a while and I thought about what was the most influential part in my life and put together a slide. This is non-academic. This is probably going to be the worst presentation slideshow setup, but the goal of it is to just be able to share kind of what's on my heart, what changed. Let's see. Uh-oh, how many screens am I sharing? And as you can see, I'm on my way to being a boomer very, very soon.
It's okay. You can just
Yes, here
make
we
the
go.
slides big.
Can you
Yeah.
see the main screen?
Yep.
Yep, perfect. So the main part of this is kind of the journey that took me from having that external locus of control down to an internal, and kind of the process. Like I said before, this is a personal reflection. This is not authoritative. Things that I say aren't coming from any form of authority. This is just my life experiences. It's an intimate look into kind of what brew my core beliefs. To encourage you from my struggles and realizations, to share my life as a potential leapfrog for yours, and a chance to honor a period of struggle in my own life. And in this, um, I won't make any assumptions out of any of your lives and what your lives have been like. However, how I hope to encourage you through this is how um, I'm able to honor the dark spots of my life and to kind of like realize like where I'm going, what I'm up to. So, family childhood. My dad was a immigrant gypsy from an impoverished place in Portugal. My mom isn't in the photo. That's me in the blue on the left. Um, four or three siblings. That's me with my little skateboard. I tried to be a cool little skater kid. Grew up in Oakland, and then of course hit my lovely awkward stage. Where I was all, and all the friends. Very sensitive, very very sensitive young man. But as I grew into my teen slash college years, I had a pretty soft heart and a lot of hair. As you guys saw earlier, my hair is gone. All right, but that's photo proof. I had an afro. But I was privileged enough that I was going to church at the time, and I made some mission trips out to Ethiopia, Malawi, Russia, and that kind of really just started something really special in my life, where I realized I wanted to give back and I wanted to be part of the community. But um, as you can see, like back in the day, um, I was I was off, right? I had a very hard time socializing. I had a lot of fear of people. I was bullied in high school, and I was really kind of looking to come into my own and what I wanted from life. And so I overcompensated and joined the military. Wanted to become a tough guy. No, but before that, I was doing real estate. Um, Joined in at a late age. I wanted to become a SEAL, right? All the movies, all the cool stuff. So I got into the SEALs. I was able to make it into the top 1%, so that was a boost to my ego. And through that, met some really awesome guys. Had a really, really great time. Really enjoyed my life. Then, as kind of I shared before, I got hurt. And when you get hurt and they don't keep you in the program, they send you off to the main fleet to whatever job is available in the Navy. And from that, I ended up going from high speed, cool guy uh, with a lot of potential to doing absolutely boring, horrible stuff. On the left, this is the flight deck of the ship that I was on. And though I had all my experience from the SEALs, right? I had all my education from college, all this whatnot. I was part of the SWAT team, did a lot of their stuff, but you're not always in combat of the Navy, you're traveling, right? So they had to put me into a group on the ship to actually work, and that group was painting, shipping paint, and also this flight deck right here, standing in the corner. For 6 hours a day, I would stand here staring at the water, hating my life, like missing my family, missing my friends, missing how I was traveling before. And even though I have like some kind of a smolder trying to do over here, I was extremely depressed, like absolutely crushed. My pride was destroyed. Still very much that sensitive young man from the picture before. Um, and to add to it, uh, I was put into a that group I was telling you about that I had to work with on the ship. I worked for about 8 people. 6 of them through my time there were kicked out of the Navy. One of them was dealing heroin, actually killed one of the members on the ship. Another two sexual assaults. Another one um, was breaking a lot of protocols. And so that was the kind of leadership I was underneath. So not only was I incredibly depressed, incredibly crushed at my life of where I was at, the leadership I was underneath was absolutely horrible. And I started a pretty significant victim mentality, and just thinking the world was after me, extremely crushed. That was my pride and joy. The one thing I could hold, probably that's a 50 caliber machine gun, and the main goal of that is when we're off the coast. Let me go back here. Um, there are suicide bombers that will come up to the ship because of I was working most of the stuff in the Middle East, and that picture here was from quite a few years ago. But this was what a suicide bomber did to the exact kind of ship that I was on. And they killed, I think, 20 sailors. And so that was the pressure. If you kind of compare the pictures, I'm actually guarding that side of the ship there. That was my main space. And through that time, um, and this is the hard stuff, right? So in that time, I would catch myself crying as a 25-year-old man, crying by myself. I felt like I had lost my meaning in life. Everything was gone. I began to lose my hair. That sweet afro you saw, though it wasn't in regulation, gone. Would literally start developing body shakes. I think I was sleeping about 4 hours a night for about 6 months of that deployment. I felt trapped. My only freedom was in the water, as in going off the edge, right? As you're out there late at night, you start having those dark, dark thoughts. And it was a completely horrible point in my life. And I still wanted an escape. And what I ended up doing is I had a headset like this for right when you're on walkie, whatnot, back there on the they call it aft lookout where I was standing. And they just came out with those wireless earbuds where you can stick it in, put it in your phone, and listen. So I started downloading TED Talks, and I came across this video I'm about to show you. And if you can imagine a young man like myself, completely in despair over my life, listening to this. It wasn't a video, it was audio. Um, and it's about 5 minutes. And the background is this man, Jocko Willink, and I'm gonna intro you so you can save 7 minutes of the video. Navy SEAL commander. He was looking over hundreds of people on the battlefield in the Middle East. And during one of his missions, they friendly fired and killed one of the soldiers he was looking after. And they stopped the entire operation. They pulled him out of the Middle East and they put him to a board in front of all supervisors to shut him down, shut down the team and whatnot. And this changed my life.
Let me get back to where we were at.
There's only one person to blame for the confusion, only one person to blame for the wounded men, and only one person to blame for the dead Iraqi soldier. And I knew exactly who that person was. And with that knowledge, I walked into the debriefing room with my commanding officer, and the master chief and the investigating officer were sitting there waiting for me, along with the rest of my men, including my SEAL that had been wounded, who was sitting in the back of the room with his head and his face all bandaged up. And I stood up before them and I asked them one simple question. Whose fault was this? One of my SEALs raised his hand and he said it was my fault. I didn't keep control of the Iraqi soldiers I was with. And they left their designated sector, and that was the root of all these problems. And I said, no, it wasn't your fault. And then another SEAL raised his hand and said it was my fault. I didn't pass our location over the radio fast enough so no one knew what building we were in, and that's what caused all this confusion. It was my fault. And I said, no, it wasn't your fault either. And then another SEAL raised his hand, and he said, boss, this was my fault. I didn't properly identify my target, and I shot and killed that friendly Iraqi soldier. This was my fault. And I said, no, this wasn't your fault either. And it wasn't yours or yours or yours, I said as I pointed to the rest of the SEALs in the room. And then I told them that there was only one person at fault for what had happened. There was only one person to blame. And that person was me. I am the commander. I am the senior man on the battlefield, and I am responsible for everything that happens. Everything. And then I went on to explain to them some new tactics, techniques, and procedures that we were going to implement to ensure that this kind of travesty never happened again. And I will tell you something, it hurt. It hurt my ego. It hurt my pride to take the blame. But I also knew. I knew that to maintain my integrity as a leader and as a man, I had to take responsibility. And in order to do that, I had to control my ego so that my ego did not control me. And you know what? I didn't get fired. In fact, my commanding officer, who had expected excuses and finger pointing, when I took responsibility, when I took ownership, he now trusted me even more. And my men, they didn't lose respect for me. Instead, they realized that I would never shirk responsibility, and I would never pass that heavy burden of command down the chain and onto them. And you know what? They had the same attitude. Unlike a team where no one takes ownership of the problems, and therefore the problems never get solved, with us, everyone took ownership of their mistakes. Everyone took ownership of the problems. And when a team takes ownership of its problems, the problems get solved. And that is true on the battlefield, it is true in business, and it is true in life. So I say, take ownership. Take extreme ownership. Don't make excuses. Don't blame any other person or any other thing. Get control of your ego. Don't hide your delicate pride from the truth. Take ownership of everything in your world, the good and the bad. Take ownership of your mistakes, take ownership of your shortfalls, take ownership of your problems, and then take ownership of the solutions that will get those problems solved. Take ownership of your mission. Take ownership of your job, of your team, of your future, and take ownership of your life. And lead. lead. Lead yourself and your team and the people in your life. Lead them all to victory. Thank you.
And that hit me heavy. And I don't know if I know it's pretty military motto, but that hit me very, very heavy. And sitting back there and processing, I decided I was going to change. And I was going to start taking ownership over the things that were going on in my life, which means I had to step up, step out, and start taking the external things that were in my life and doing my best to better that. And I think I have. There was one more. We're low. I'm low on time. And within that.
Don't worry about the time.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Do you want me to? Can I play? This is 2 minutes. It'll be a little bit more.
Yeah.
But and then there was one more thing that he said. This one is a little bit more moto because they have like music in the background. But I hope you can hear the attitude from this last of taking ownership and control to also adding this attitude into it. Yeah. And that started turning wheels. And I went from, in that moment, progressing my life from taking the situation that I was in to trying to find ways that I can move forward. And I kind of I think I accidentally deleted the slide where I kind of had a summary of my thoughts through there. But the summary was the situation that I'm in. I'm no longer going to complain about being in it. I'm going to see how I can affect the environment that I'm in. I'm going to see how I can motivate others around me. And I'm going to see if I can bring up other people around me as well. And coming back full circle to being in the Middle East, this ship right here, target fail, there was a ship just like ours that was shot off the coast of Yemen. And it was our job, because they had used up a lot of their missile defense capabilities. They're only able to use it once. Some of them, it was our job to go to that same exact area to defend. This is 2000, I think it's in there, 2017. And so got my little 50 caliber machine gun up and maintain, and we headed over there in full knowledge of what could happen. And I still have these things going on in my mind, right? Okay, I have the little man inside of me who's trying to become more, trying to be more, but also overcompensating in a lot of different ways and with a lot of fears. But I'm here. All right, so I want that picture. And while I'm there, a heavy fog came down, very, very heavy, where you see from this picture, what we're allowed to shoot at in this area, so you can imagine Somali pirates, whatnot, they're all out here, is about this far. When they come to this range, this means that you can shoot them. It shows that they have intent to come to the ship. The fog was right here, so about 100 feet closer to us. So anything that I saw, I was supposed to shoot. All right, that's what the situation was. We're on high alert. I'm out there, and I start hearing a little boat, and they look just like this tiny little target. And don't worry, there isn't going to be anything gore, all right, triggering, whatever, you're fine. But I start hearing this boat coming in, and I get on the radio, tell them, I pull back the hammer on the 50 cal, I point in the direction, and I knew as soon as something came through that it was my time to shoot. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I can finally prove myself as a man. I can prove myself as somebody capable. I can finally like escape kind of like the situation that I'm in and have a scenario where I'm better. And as they came through, I noticed almost immediately, and it was the gun, my gun was pointed on him, ready to go. Almost immediately, there were just 5 simple fishermen. The boat was empty underneath. It just looked like a bunch of dads had gone out to go fishing and they're in the wrong area. And I put the gun down, and they had their wide eyes. They had no idea we were there. They were just completely out. and they drifted away. And that moment was extremely profound for me, because I realized, yes, I had my orders for if anything comes through the fog to shoot. We're in a hostile area. Somebody just got shot at a week ago. But I had finally taken and shown my capability to myself, that I took ownership over where I was at. And because of that, even though I had an opportunity to do something, which would have been a horrible thing now knowing, or like knowing the situation, but if my mind was so laser focused trying to overcompensate, I would have taken 5 lives. And that, from that, these, like the two things of trying to change my life and this situation were only 3 weeks apart. And from that, my whole entire motivation of who I would be as a person, who I wanted to be, who I wanted people to surround, completely changed. I ended up leaving the ship, going out into the Middle East to work on the land and do security missions in the Middle East. And if it wasn't for the new attitude that I had, it would have been a completely different story. Now, getting out of the military, holding that I'm in control, like I'm going to make the best of my situation, blah, blah, blah. I've been out for about 2 years now. Was able to start like a nonprofit. I've actually been able to retire too. I'm actually retired at 32. But I started a nonprofit supporting things in Africa, here in Mexico, my own community. And even like this year, I think I've donated around 30 grand since February, just to like, there's some villages in Africa, some things here in the community. And it was all because the simple part of realizing that I was no longer going to be that victim, that I was going to reach in, take ownership of my life, and do my best to grow the people around me and to constantly keep that motivated. And I still have failure. I'm not a perfect person. I'm very human. But this attitude careened the entire path of my life in a huge way. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys. And I hope that maybe you can relate some of those things for yourself. If not, hopefully you can be encouraged, or maybe you have more reasons to hate me. You have all these options, all right? But thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Professor, for giving me some time and extra time. And yeah, appreciate you guys.